how does the July Sentiment Index differ from June? What were the main drivers of the mood indicator? And what are the likely future trends? Once again, we present you the key findings of the Dukascopy Bank Sentiment Index when we look at the three primary economic regions: Europe, North America, and Asia Pacific. This time around with James Cassing, Professor of Economics at the University of Pittsburgh. Great to have you on the program, Professor. My initial question is about the mood indicator, but first, let's view some of the results. The Asia-Pacific economic prospects are little changed in comparison to the previous month. The 6-month economic outlook improved only by 0.02 to 0.65, while the 3-year outlook remained flat at the same level, 0.73. Furthermore, this is an insignificant difference from the sentiment we observed last July, when the 6-month outlook stood at 0.63 and the 3-year one at 0.72. Professor, the Asia-Pacific region had a lot of vital events, like Shinzo Abe winning the parliamentary elections and implementing his aggressive QE measures to battle deflation, while China's growth showed upsetting figures. Do you think the events offset each other, or what other explanation would you provide for the minor change in the sentiment?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think for the mood indicator, there was a bit of an offset. I think there was a little pessimism about China and some optimism about Japan and maybe the rest of the region. But also, I think it's true that we're not sure how to read China as it evolves from kind of a reliance on exports to a more consumer-oriented economy. And so that gives cause for caution. As for Japan, well, there's quiet optimism, but again, I think we're just not sure if the effects of the Abe looser monetary policies are going to be effective or not. So I think an offset explains that lack of movement in the mood indicator.
Moving from Asia-Pacific's mood to Europe's business cycle, pessimism continues to conquer the region, as 15 out of 30 respondents claim that Europe is in the contraction phase, while 12 say it is in the recessionary trough. Further, even though the 3-year forecasts are more favorable, still 8 out of 30 academic experts believe that Europe will be contracting 3 years from now, and 10 say it will stay in the recessionary trough. Professor, we have just recently received positive Eurozone PMI data that expanded for the first time in 18 months, signaling signs of a recovery. So why do you think the sentiment contradicts the actual figures?
I think there's cause for caution. What I would say is Europe is not getting worse. And also, after all, there are companies like BMW, for example, that are global, and they depend on the U.S. and Chinese middle class as much as the European market. But there's kind of a nagging question, and the question in Europe is, can the internal demand pick up, and are there still surprises in the financial sector? I think Europe will grow, but it's cloudy. So I think that's the reason for the data being discounted a little bit.
Before we finish, I would also like to discuss North America and some of the trends of the sentiment. When observing its movement over a period of 5 months, we see a clear uptrend of the economic expectations for the area, and reaching its record high of 0.71 since the Dukascopy Sentiment Index poll was launched. Professor, do you see the uptrend continuing, and why?
Well, I do. The U.S. economy is clearly repairing. I think the trend will continue. There's certainly policy uncertainty continues to be a problem. Obamacare, Fed tapering possibilities, the polarized Congress, but I think these things can be worked out. The big uncertainty, however, is that business continues to report a lack of demand, and indicators are still sluggish. So again, while I'm optimistic, something strange is happening. There's a mystery. There's a strong stock market, which says people expect growth, yet there's a strong bond market, which says people expect weakness. So this divergence is a bit of a puzzle. But generally, I'm kind of sluggishly optimistic that the trend will continue.
Thank you, Professor Cassing, for sharing your interpretation of the results. And dear viewers, these were just some of the poll findings. The full report has much more information and can be viewed by going to Dukascopy.com and clicking on Sentiment Index under the Market Research section. Thank you for tuning in. Goodbye.